On to Concord, marched the foe to seize the arsenal there, you know, waking folks, searching all around. Till our militia stopped them in their tracks. At the old North Bridge, we turned them back and chased those redcoats back to Boston town. And the shout around the world was the start of the revolution. The Minutemen were ready on the move. Take your powder, take your gun, report to General Washington. Hurry, men, there's not an hour to lose.
It happened that they had planned, if the British was ever to come over here, that they'd put a light up in this high church steeple. And Paul went down there to look. And sure enough, there was the light, burning brighter than day. Well, Paul, he jumped on his old horse and he lit out. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew he had to go somewhere. Oh, I wish you could have seen it. That old horse with his ears laid back and his nostrils wide open, sucking in wind like a jet engine, feet pounding on them cobblestones, striking off sparks. Paul a-holding on for dear life and a-hollering at the top of his lungs. He says, the British is coming, the British is coming. Get you a gun, we gonna have us a revolution. And them farmers come a-piling out of the hay like bees out of a beehive. Minutemen, they's called.
What's Minutemen?
Minutemen? There's fellas that had to be ready at a minute's notice. And when Paul comes screeching down the road that way, they grabbed their guns and hid out behind the weeds and walls and trees and everywhere. And when the British come a-prancing along, all dressed up in their red suits, they let 'em have it. It was a sight to see. And then it happened.
They fired the gun.
They fired the gun. And the shot was so loud, it was heard clear around the world.
Oh, get out.
It's a fact. That's the way this country started.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Now is the time to secure Ancient Defense for you and your family. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. That's ancientdefense.com. Break down why you're so proud of these filters.
Well, I mean, the Alexa Pure is really a culmination of all of my experience. It was posed to me as an extremely challenging project. They wanted a product that would actually operate without any electricity, so it had no pressure. You had to do it all by gravity. And they really effectively said, we need everything imaginable to be removed efficiently, way higher than 99%. And so the result was, it's an extreme challenge. Worked on it for quite a long time. And basically what we've done is we've created the only filter, to my knowledge, that hits all three. It will remove effectively all the major metals, all the major non-metals such as fluoride. It will take out all known microbiological threats, including viral, bacterial, and cyst. And it will take out organic chemicals of pretty much everything without exception. It's a very, very powerful device. I don't believe that there's anything else out there in the world that can do that, especially under gravity flow conditions. The fit and finish are fantastic. No compromise was made on the quality of the construction. So, I mean, it's really a remarkable achievement on their part, and I feel very proud, actually, to be part of the team that put that together.
What's your view overall on fluoride?
Well, okay, so we actually tested against both the fluoride ion and the fluorosilicate that you mentioned, which is the additive that people put into water under federal control. And basically, we removed both of them with equal efficiency. So we wanted to be sure that no matter how fluoride is added to the water, it can be intercepted and removed. So that's how we've dealt with that. All I can tell you is that we tested against all known fluoride chemicals that are added to water, the new ones and the old ones, and we removed them all of equal efficiency.
And it's your belief that this is the best gravity-fed filter of the design out there available to the public?
Without a doubt. I mean, most of these gravity flow filters are at best simple particulate filters. They remove dirt and debris, sediment. They're not going to be capable of intercepting a viral particle to the degree we're talking quantitative reduction below detection. No one can touch that kind of capability.
Well, I'm impressed, and I want to thank you so much for your time today. It is the Alexa Pure Pro family of water filtration systems available, discounted exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank Mr. Redhawk for allowing us to be part of the launch of this. It's on sale right now for their main unit, $177. Leading competitors that aren't even as good are more than that. And they've also got the survival spring type straw system for survival that is an absolute must-have.
War, pandemic, economic turmoil, natural disaster, terror attack, false flag, or real. In our modern times, these are all very real reasons to prepare for times of crisis. This list, however, is excluding the worst-case scenario, which is also the most likely to occur. EMP, or an electromagnetic pulse. Whether such a disaster is caused by a terror attack or nature, the results will be unimaginable. No lights, no appliances, your cell phone will not work, and your car isn't going to start. Worst yet, the power will not be turned back on for at least an entire year. The spread of the damage will cover almost the entire Western continent. That's no lights, no heat, no refrigeration, and no plumbing. Society will ultimately break down. A 2008 study predicts that in the case of such an event, 90% of Americans will die after the first year. You heard me right, 90%. How can you and your family survive such a disaster? And what can you do to be one of the 10% that lives? In the next few moments, we will explore these questions. We asked survival experts Joel Skousen, Matthew Stein, and James Wesley Rawls to join us and briefly explain the most important things every American must know to stay alive during the most unthinkable of times. How will we know when we've been hit by an EMP attack? What will it look like?
Well, I think for most people, it'll simply be a matter of a blackout, and then they'll go to check their radios and find that nearly all of the radio stations are off of the air.
All media, all electronics, and power from the grid will go down. You won't have any electricity anywhere, and you'll turn on your television, you won't see anything. You won't hear anything on the radio, and that's so it will be very clear that this is a widespread electrical outage.
It'll all go down at once, and that will be far beyond line of sight from a nuclear blast.
Basically, you can kind of figure on people being fairly peaceable for a day or two, and then the looting will happen, and everything will be gone from the shelves after the looting gets started. Like within a day, it'll probably be pretty much wiped clean. But you can pretty much expect chaos to be running in the streets.
The immediate effects in the direct line of sight to a nuclear weapon are going to be profound. That's the area where you're going to have cars that won't start, for example, if they have electronic ignition systems.
It is sufficient to understand that with long power lines lacing the country, these absorb this electromagnetic energy as if they're great big antennas, and they send huge power surges down the power lines, which ends up frying any equipment that is plugged into the electrical power system. And this surge occurs in 1 to 2 nanoseconds, which means lightning protection. Those types of clamping shunt type protectors will not work in an EMP. It's much faster than that, and the surge will get through. So special equipment is needed to protect against EMP.
Anything connected to the power grid, the internet itself will be gone, most radio broadcasts will be out. And of course, then the whole cascade of events will take place because we're going to be without power and without automatic ordering systems, without a lot of controls over key infrastructure, which depend on the internet, the power grid, and the phone system.
You have to have your 3 Bs together, your beans, your bullets, your Band-Aids, meaning that you have to have food stored up. You have to have first aid. There's going to be no pharmacies you can go to. You can't call doctors. You have to have a good survival library put together. And then the protection, to know that there's going to be, there's a heavily armed populace in the United States. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who won't be prepared. And so you need to be prepared to defend yourselves, and you need to have strategic partners. By that, I mean that no one can be awake 24/7. And you're much stronger in numbers.
So do you think the U.S. government, do they need to do more to protect, the power grid and our infrastructure? Have they done enough?
No, they haven't done enough. They've protected military infrastructure,
of course,
but they really need high capacity, very strong surge protectors, the EMP less than 1 nanosecond surge protectors on the entire grid, and they don't have that.
The investment required to upgrade the infrastructure of our power grids, for example, in the phone system, would, yes, be in the range of in the billions of dollars to do. But compared to what we spend every year on welfare, it would be a drop in the bucket.
Oh, it's probably less than the banker bailouts.
Oh, far less.
Yeah.
Far less.
Scientific statistics says there's a 1 in 8 chance every decade for a super solar storm.
So we're long overdue.
The last kill shot solar storm we had was 1921. That's 95 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the one before that was only 60 years earlier, the Great Carrington event. So both of those happened before we had the grid's Achilles heel. We didn't have a big grid in those days. Now we have these giant transformers that are going to blow in a super solar storm, and they take 1 to 3 years to replace them.
It could be a destruction of our power grid that could literally throw us back into medieval level technology.
When South Africa lost 14 transformers in 2003, I believe it was, it took them a full year to replace those 14. Now, we're not talking about 14, we're talking about 350 or more in the United States alone, a couple thousand in the world. That's 20 years of manufacturing capacity if the world's working well, and it won't be, to replace all those transformers. So you're talking a single storm in a day or two taking down the equivalent of what it would take 20 years working full time to replace. So we're talking a really serious situation where it'll be months before things are even limping along. And in that time, a lot of people will starve, and a whole bunch of nuclear power plants are going to melt down, and there's going to be chaos in the streets for a very long time.
It's important to also have a solar battery charger. Even if you can't afford a whole house system, you ought to at least have a small 5 or 10 watt panel and a battery charging tray so that you can recharge all your crucial electronics. And that would be things like flashlights, your portable radios, your night vision equipment, and your push-to-talk radio gear for retreat security. You're going to have to be able to communicate with your neighbors. So you want to have some walkie-talkies.
The first line of defense is to put on what's called a whole house shunt protector. And there are a few companies that do put out this equipment. Transtector, for example, is a military contractor, which will sell to the public.
Go off-grid. If you have the wherewithal to set up your home for photovoltaic power, go ahead and do so. But make sure that it is not a grid-tied system. It needs to be a standalone system.
Well, I'd say the absolute most important thing is to be planning for the grid being down for a really long period of time. That you just know the government's not planning ahead. They're not going to